Hello everybody and welcome back to Monster Hunter Wilds, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at an update to my convert element build that has been made possible due to the title update. Now I do have some other builds that I'm putting together that use Zoshia armor, a little bit of Mizutsune armor, but I wanted to do this one first because this is an update to one that is already out. So I want you to have the most optimal, the most up-to-date build of something that I've already talked about. So if you've looked at the convert element build before, this is going to be kind of the same, but it's changing things around a little bit to be able to just slot a little bit of more damage than what we had in the previous convert element build. Now the other builds that I'm working on, I am just going to put them into one video most likely. We'll see if that makes sense. I'm going to be finishing doing the testing for those builds today. So you should see those in the next day or two. But let's jump into the updated convert element build, which is my favorite build and it makes me very happy to use, and I hope that you also like it. This is my new primary favorite build, I think. And the bow that you can use with it, you can use any build with it, any bow with it, but using the new bow works perfectly fine if you would like to do that. And this uses convert element. Convert element is definitely my favorite. It's my favorite build. And this one is very similar to the other one that we had, but we're now using the convert element charm that has two pieces of convert element. It's got level 2. It used to only be able to go to level 1. Now it can go to level 2, so you need less convert element from your armor. So it opens up some different options with your armor. We're running the Arc Vulcan Helm, Arc Vulcan Mail, Guardian Arc Veld Van Braces, and then 2-piece gore on the waist and the legs. So the reason that we're using 2-piece gore is because you get Gore Magala's Tyranny, which infects you with Frenzy when against large monsters. And then, of course, when you overcome the Frenzy, you're going to be getting Antivirus, and that is going to give you a ton of affinity. Our other source of affinity is Weakness Exploit, which we have at level 5, and that pretty much puts us at a pretty good spot. Other skills that we have, so currently I'm running with Constitution 3 and Divine Blessing 3 for it to be kind of comfy and a little bit tankier. But if you do not want to eat for Black Belt low, you can absolutely take some of these out. You could even take the Coalescence that I have in here. You don't need level 1 Coalescence. It was just something I was trying. But you can take this out and you can add another Constitution. But the reason that I'm running with Constitution 3 is because you can just eat Drool Shroom. So you can eat Drool Shroom in your meal, and that will give you a basically Constitution level 5. But again, if you're not comfortable with that, you can add more Constitution in place of Divine Blessing. But we're getting harder monsters, and having a build that I really like damage-wise, that's Convert Element, it's got Weakness Exploit, Adrenaline Rush, Burst, Counter-Strike, and still having Divine Blessing, I think is going to be really, really, really nice. Another thing that you could change is you could get rid of these counter decos. I would say get rid of 2 of these counter decos for a refresh if you're struggling with your stamina. I always say that any 2 slots of decos could go either way. You could use whatever you want, to be honest. You don't need to use this. It's totally up to you depending on how you feel about your stamina usage. But the idea of this build is, if you don't know how Convert Element works, you dodge an elemental attack and you get Convert Element. Convert Element, you don't have to use with a dragon weapon, but it is really good if you use it with a dragon weapon because it gives you a ton of dragon element. But you can also use it not with a dragon weapon. It just means that instead of getting the boost of your dragon element and then also getting the random burst of a ton of damage, you will only get the burst of a ton of damage. And that burst happens fairly often. It's very similar to Blast, and it will happen anywhere between 295 and 320 damage. I think it can only do 320 on Gravios, but I think that's the highest that I've seen it go. So you're just getting 2 minutes of random bursts of elemental damage, which is great. Feels great. Looks nice. Feels nice. It's pretty. We like it. And we also have Adrenaline Rush on here. So that is giving us extra damage when we dodge, plus 10 attack. We're running 1 level of burst, so that's giving us extra element damage and extra attack. We're running 2 levels of Counter Strike. If you don't know how Counter Strike works on bow, if you perfectly dodge an attack and then you get hit by the residual damage of that attack, it will proc Counter Strike. So you can basically perfect dodge things and get hit by, for example, Arkveld's like chain attack that has some stuff on the floor. If you get hit by even a teeny weeny amount of that, Counter Strike will proc that. So, but in general, like, I'm gonna get hit, so I'm gonna proc it from getting hit anyway. I am running 1 point of Coalescence. I don't know if I really need that or not, but, you know, it increases our elemental damage, so I thought I would try it. But this build is just, it's pretty comfy. Divine Blessing is giving us 50% damage reduction. That's pretty nice. And then we also have Convert Element for damage. We have Weakness Exploit. We have Counter Strike. We have Adrenaline Rush. We have Burst. We have so many sources of damage. It's awesome. And then we, of course, if you are running with the Zoshia bow, you are getting those random 50 bursts of damage. Well, they're not random. They're actually super consistent throughout the entire hunt. You're going to be proccing 50 damage, just 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. So yeah, that's what we're running. We have pretty decent crit. We have lots of sources of damage. The other weapon that I use this with is the G-renowned Tristram. Because of the close range coding, it hits like a freaking truck. It also has pretty high base attack damage. This has 264. This one has 288, but it's 5% affinity versus minus 10% affinity. So, like, this bow is pretty solid. It's a pretty solid choice. The only other downside of it is that it has 3-2-1 deco slots, but I'm currently running with Spread, Dragon, and Dragon. The other thing that I do is Tetrad Shot. Tetrad Shot is also going to give you more crit and more attack damage after the 4th coating. From the 4th coating to the 10th coating, you have increased affinity. On the 4th coating and the 6th coating, you have more attack and elemental damage. So if you are running Tetrad Shot, just don't reload your weapon all the time. Don't do it. So if you are lacking in the affinity department, maybe you want to throw on some Tetrad. It gives you some more affinity stuff, but I think I like this so far. There's definitely some things that I might change, like the counter, for example. I might change this around to have, you could have evade window. If you want to have a higher evade window, you could have evade distance. You could have more coalescence. Honestly, with this, I feel like you can do whatever you want. But the most important thing, if you want to take this and make it your own, is that you have weakness exploit. You have, I would personally go with at least 3 points of constitution, because then you just need to eat drool shrooms, and you should have plenty of drool shrooms. If you don't have any, so it's not the high level shroom, it's not the delish shroom, it's drool shroom. If you don't have any of them, you can either, if you really want to keep the Divine Blessing because it makes you a little tankier, you could just take points out of this. Just take some points out of these 2 ones. Like, you can get to level 5 if you just get rid of 1 counter and 1 Phoenix, or you could get it by just getting rid of your Divine Blessing. This is so far my favorite one. This is my favorite.